first of all, I'm not going, um, I'm not going in a linear way. I'm skipping around. It's whatever is appealing to me at the moment. I don't You can do whatever you want to do. So you don't have to you've already drawn this uh in order once, essentially, or a couple of times. Now I
Hmm.
think you can go and out of order a little bit, whatever your energy level is. If you're like, oh, I just want to draw people right now. It's right. You want to you want to keep yourself engaged, right?
Hmm.
So now I have this character that's moving a certain way, but I'm going, I feel like Sam wouldn't be like straight back. I feel like Sam would be kind of hunched over a little bit. And I don't know why that is. I just feel like Sam doesn't stand up. Like maybe Sam has slight scoliosis or something. It's not
Hmm.
something we ever talked about, but I figure, maybe that's a characteristic that feels right for this character as I'm doing it now at this very moment. Hadn't thought about it prior, but now that
Hmm.
I'm seeing it, I'm going, yeah, Sam may not like walking across. There's a bit of like a shoulder hunched, and it just
Yeah,
adds like a little bit of a quality to the character. It feels a little bit more alive, more lived.
that makes sense. And I feel also that Sam just doesn't strike you as a character that has a lot of like doesn't stand up straight, isn't a proud character. He's a little bit more like, "Ugh," like that kind of a feeling like, oh, come on, why is this door here? So I do think that giving that little bit of personality to how Sam moves does speak to the character in an interesting way.
Yeah. Like, the other thing is Sam kind of wears slightly baggy clothing, right? It's
Hmm.
not form fitting. And
Yeah.
so I hadn't really sometimes you need time, like your brain needs to like percolate on these things, and then all of a sudden you've drawn the character enough times, you've talked it through, and then you're like, "Oh, you know what? This character is becoming much more nuanced to me, and it feels like they wouldn't have they I drew them in kind of baggy clothing, but I want to make it even baggier because it
Hmm.
just feels um it just adds another layer of like uh um to the character, right?
Hmm.
Another more lived in a feel to the character. And so so I'm making it a little bit baggier here, right? Um, and that's kind of spur of the moment. That's my point where I was like, I'm gonna keep pretty close to the original design where there's like a turtleneck, but I'm
Hmm.
enhancing it a little bit more just because it feels right. Um, and it still doesn't like this original drawing. Um, like the if I bring it back, right? So,
Hmm.
do I now from here I may go, you know what? Is this feel the same way that it feels from the initial one? Do I want to change it? Right? Like these are all the little things that you can kind of you have to figure out. Like I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm going to as I work through this, I'm as you can see, I'm like because I'm going back and there's a quality here. So now I'm actually realizing, oh, maybe I actually drew this a bit wrong. There's more of a twist. They're actually more static than I realized, right? So maybe,
Yeah, less
yeah,
motion. They're already there and like yanking.
yeah. But now that I've drawn that first one, it didn't take me very long. It was a very pretty quick little. Um, Now I'm going to see if I can capture that feeling because there's something about it that I like. I'm going to capture, but the pants are still pretty baggy here,
Hmm.
right? And but I want to make it less angular and more round, right? So here we go. Now I'm starting to feel it a little
That
bit,
looks good. I like that. It's got
right?
that twist that like trying to just pull something that isn't about to move. Um, it's like, you put in a different amount of energy because you're expecting it to be opening easy, but it doesn't. It's like, oh, that was surprising. Um, The other thing too that I think, from talking about the reference and stuff is we've lived with this character now for quite a while, and all that reference was done early on, right? When we were just trying to figure out the story and the world and, who Sam is, and that's evolved, right? Like we've changed things, we've learned more about the character and what's happening to them and stuff like that. Similarly to the script, right? What I read out loud wasn't the original script. Those were the notes after our many different rounds that we kind of ended up with. So I think it makes sense that the character has changed and evolved a bit from the original sketches, the same way that the script has changed and evolved a bit from the original script, because now that we've lived with it, we've actually tried it out, we've done some things, it's updated and changed, and that's okay.
Yeah. Well, that's it. That's why I always, for years, I used to like be very, like I use the process that I was told should be done, which is you create like turnarounds of the characters in a very static way, and then maybe some like poses for them, and then some close up shots of them. And like over time, I'd be like, but why do I have to do like a turnaround of them? Like, I understand it in that it gives you, well, first of all, in animation, you kind of need to know like very exactly like where the character breaks, like where their movements are.
Mhm.
That makes sense to know, to be able to do that. When you transfer it over to comic books, it is important for you to have an idea of like where everything kind of lines up, um in regards to like how where their eyes line up with their, how wide their forehead, like that kind of stuff is important.
Mhm.
And so I'm not saying don't do like those character turnarounds. What I found though was I would do them, and then I'd start drawing the character and go, oh wait, all that stuff I worked on, now I want to change because I realize that the forehead that's too high. Well, there's another character I drew that had a really high forehead too, and they just seem too similar. And I didn't realize it until after the fact. And
Mm,
now I
mhm.
want to make the other character, our main character, with a less of a forehead, or maybe, or whatever it is. Like I realize there's something about them. It took me a while to see it, but now I'm like, I don't like that their eyes are too close together. There's just something about it I don't like. So like all of that stuff I would end up changing, like, or you realize like, you drew like the way that they have like a prop or something, and then when you actually start to draw it in the script, uh,
Mhm.
realize it doesn't work because they need to be, like coming from, like if their prop is like this way and they're going like this, but then you realize, oh, you designed everything the opposite way, and now you have to change. Oh, their holster now is on this side because you didn't think about it, but then that changes everything else because, like all these things can
Yeah.
become like, uh, like you'll all of a sudden go, oh, well, I just wasted a lot of time on something that, uh, I realize now I did wrong.
Well, one thing can snowball, right? And take a lot of things out with it. And that's why you want to be prepared. You want to do pre planning. You want to think about all of the things, but not do it so tightly that now you can't move from it. Or you end up in those situations where you're like, oh no, now that I've committed and spent all this time doing all these character turnarounds, and now you're frustrated because that's like, what a waste. It's like, do enough so that you know who your character is, but not so much that making a change just seems like an uphill mountain you're not about to climb.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I guess the solution is, at least for me, and everybody's going to be different. So I don't, I wouldn't say to somebody, don't do a character turnaround. What I would say is, do what, um, gets you to the, finished product in the best possible way. And so
Yes.
if you need to like really do all those character turnarounds because you really need to know, the very specific, like proportions between different body parts and different, features on them. And then you end up changing it. And you're okay, like redoing all those turnarounds because you have the time to do it. And you have the, stamina to do it, then go for it. Like that's not what I'm saying is for me, I know personally that when I start drawing these characters and I'm like, oh, I just spent all this time, like really putting this like effort into their, these like all these character designs, and then I end up using very little of them. And to me, that's like, um, like when you're on a deadline, you're like, oh, well, that I just wasted a lot of time. Like that was just unnecessary. And, I um, the other thing too is I like to draw as you can see here, I draw the character in doing things that I think are going to happen in the script, like bring
Mhm.
it back. It
Yep.
may not be the exact pose, but it gives me an idea of like how the character could act and could move. So it
Yep.
gives me like a kind of a reference that I can use that'll help me um, get that character a little bit closer to the way I envision them in my mind's eye. Um, right? And so, like it's one of those things where, again, I'm working, I'm still working pretty quickly here. Um, I may work a bit faster if I wasn't talking and explaining it. Um, but I think that, um, for the most part, like all of this stuff is, happening, um, pretty quickly. Now I'm also, just to go a little closer here, I'm actually going to change up. I think I'm going to change up my pencil type here. So I'm using the Chisla, but I'm going to go to this, which is essentially it's a little bit of a finer line, and I'm using like a light gray, like a 30 something percent gray, um, and this I don't know. It's just preference. It's nothing really. I actually can't say I've ever done this way before, but I figure with this, I figure why not try something new. Um, but
An
also,
interesting I was gonna say, interesting detail about Sam when you just showed, the drawings you had done is I like the fact that Sam's pants were too short. I do think that was kind of a neat detail that
okay,
you had put in there that, like that there was just something about the fact that, like, this person you can always tell when someone's having a bit of a rough go when their clothes don't fit properly. So I think if they're baggy and too short, it just says a lot about the character in such a simple way that you had included last time that just seeing that again, like that really stuck out to me as one of the
yeah, no, that's fair. See, I'm. It's good to have another person here to kind of give me an input where they're like, you know what, this thing, I like the idea of it, but let's actually make it a little bit more, like keep some of the stuff we had before. So um, maybe it's everything's a little bit too short.
Yeah, I just there's something about that because immediately that tells me that this is a character who's already having a bit of a rough time, right? This isn't someone who's like put together and like it's like pants are too short, my shirt's too short, everything's baggy because it doesn't I had to get the wrong size on everything and this is what I got to work with. And I think that also speaks to the fact that like the TV's on top of crates and like his shelf is all wobbly and everything. So Sam's already kind of down on his luck. Um so I think it also helps to be like he Sam didn't need that big of a push to kinda go over the edge. Things were already not great.
Hmm. So let me see here. So we're saying loose, like the
Yeah, like
pants are good.
loose and just a bit like you can see a little ankle. You just know that they don't quite fit right because that was something I liked from the previous, um, drawings you had done of Sam.
So there's something I'm still not getting quite right here, which is I feel like so I'm going to create like a little center line of like where their body is going to be split, like where the chest is going to be split. I
Hmm,
down the center because I feel like I'm doing it. There's something about this one that I like where it's a little bit more, you can see a little bit more, like if they're turning a little bit more.
mhm,
So
mhm.
I'm trying to capture that. Um, so here's probably where some of my weaknesses lie, right? There's some people that are really great when it comes to uh, laying out the person in a very like structurally proper way. And uh, I always struggle with that. I always have. I just sometimes, especially when I'm starting something, it takes me a little while to kind of warm up a bit.
Mhm,
So, uh, like you can see, I'm reworking it. This is just my process. Like I wish I was one of those artists that could just like lay down those lines real quickly and they get exactly what they're trying to achieve. For me, um, it's a struggle. I think that's a lot of artists. So it's not, my point being, you're watching me kind of fail repeatedly here, which is okay. That's part of the process of it. You may go, oh, well, I didn't realize that, you know, Keith struggles with this too, right? But you need to see that stuff.
Well, and I think too, it's also if you've got something specific in your mind, right? Like you're trying to achieve something very specific versus just being like, oh well, hand on a doorknob, done, no problem. But because it's that motion, the turn, the kind of frustration in the body, like it looks simple, but it's much more complicated than it seems like it is.
Hmm. Yeah. So now in hindsight, maybe I should have started with something a little simpler, but for whatever reason,
Dive
this is
straight in, deep
what's
end.
that?
Dive straight into the deep end.
Yeah, pretty much. I just, for whatever reason, this was like the thing that I was like, I eyed right away, and I was like, oh, I want to do that one. Ooh,
I am
okay.
seeing more of a twist now.
Yes. I'm getting there. See, like I'm using each, like, there are quicker ways to get there. Different ways to, if I had like, um, like maybe did a little bit more of a gesture first, uh, instead of structure, which, like that, this is all, as I said, this is me failing repeatedly. You're watching me kind of like muck through this, but now I'm getting a little closer. You saw it, right?
Mhm.
You saw, oh,
Absolutely. I
it's,
see the body, the shoulders twisting forward and the hips kind of in a different position. Like I definitely see a twist more now.
and I think, let me see if I can replicate that a little bit more. Cause there's something about that kind of, like that other leg, the way that the, just the way that the leg is kind of like almost like it's turning,
Yeah.
the knee is turning down, grinding down, the back leg's almost grinding down a bit into the ground. Uh, there's just something about that I really liked. And then, um,
Well, because it's an unexpected outcome, right? Like, Sam goes at it assuming it's gonna be easy to open, and it's not. And so that's where, like, the body's a little bit, like, jarred because it
yeah,
it should just open, but it doesn't, so you kind of are seeing that now where everything looks a little like, "Whoa, like, what's going on here?" Because it should have just been a door in his new apartment that opened, and it's not.
yeah, exactly. It's like, wait, what's going on here?
Yeah,
So
and
maybe,
it's a more complicated motion than just, like, going to a door and turning the handle and opening it or closing it. It's like it's an unexpected thing that's now happening to Sam's body because the door didn't do what it was supposed to do.
mhm. Which reminds me then, like the clothing may twist a little bit too.
Yeah. I like, seeing the twist in that knee is great because that gives you that feeling of, like, kind of had to overturn because nothing happened, right? So the body is confused because it wasn't what it planned to do.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good, the energy, if you want to get like super specific, the energy didn't flow through properly. It got stopped somewhere in the body, and therefore it's almost like a jolt. It's like a bit of like a whoa.
Exactly, and I think that's what's coming through now. It's like when you go to pick something up and it's either much heavier or much lighter than you expected it to be, and you almost throw it over your head or, like, get stuck, and that's kinda what's happening to Sam is, expected to just pop this door open and see what was behind it, and everything in their body is now disjointed because it didn't work the way that it was supposed to.
Yeah. So
And clearly, that's a much more complicated thing to portray in a single image than to just have someone opening a door. But I can really see it coming through now.
yes, and I think that basically, what I'm doing is I'm using each uh like I'm erasing and then redrawing, erasing. I'm using it as like almost like a reference. I'm like getting a little bit closer. As I said, like this is just one of my ways of dealing with things. Sometimes, um I get it really quickly, like, I have it I in my mind's eye. Like, in this situation, I probably, I didn't have this exactly clear in my head as to like what was happening. I just knew I drew something very instinctually. And I think to your point, yeah, I didn't think about it being like, oh, it's stopping the force. There should be a
Mhm.
nice flow. Like you're moving and it flows with you. And this is like, no, this is stopping a person
Yep.
and it's jolting their body. And I hadn't thought about that. So now that I've kind of I'm like, oh, okay, well, what does that feel like? What is the body going to do in that situation? And so, um, like I keep on going back to that original. There's something there, and I'm still not sure I'm getting it right. I may have to.
Yeah, the, like, shortening of the center actually works well too, because kind of squat down, right? The door like, where it is, to squat down and pull, and everything about it is like an uncomfortable motion, right? Because the energy is just not flowing properly, and it's starting to really look like that now.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is sometimes you'll go through this because you're like, I don't know exactly what's happening here, um, and um, you have to figure out like you have to work through it to so one other thing you could have done is you could have done a bunch of different drawings on the side, like if you're working traditionally.
Mhm.
You could always like if you're like, ooh, what's happening here, I haven't quite figured it out, maybe just take a sketchbook or a piece of paper on the side and just start to like draw it out as you're like trying to figure it out and see what works best and then take that drawing and transfer it over to the panel you're working on.
Mhm, and like you said, like, because this is seemingly like there was something in that original thumbnail that had the right energy, and I think, we hadn't really spelled out what it was about there, but the more we've talked about it, now we're realizing it was that, you know, body motion confusion, right? That was actually working really well in the way that you'd originally drawn it, and I think we're getting there again where it's a bit of that, like, that pull, that turn, that twist, that uncomfortableness of this door not doing what it's supposed to do, and this is kind of our first exposure to it, so this is actually a really, kind of important moment because this is that first realization that something is not right.